should brothers be saying I love you to each other?
I mean, not if you mean literally saying I love you.
But do you think it's okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think it's beneficial?
Can be.
Could you see yourself doing it?
No. Not gay. James Anderson had a plan, or half of one. He managed to do what his older brother, the famous Aaron Warner Anderson, never did. Infiltrate Ark Island, the last refuge of the re-establishment. No outsider has breached the stronghold of the authoritarian regime. But James is in. In a prison cell, sure, but as far as James is concerned, a win is a win. It's been 10 years since the notorious duo Juliet Ferraz and Aaron Warner Anderson led a worldwide rebellion and established the new Republic of the West. But the re-establishment is ready to make a devastating move, and they have the perfect assassin for the job. Rosabelle Wolfe had a plan. She always had a plan. Brimming with post-pounding action and torturous romance, Watch Me is an explosive journey through a dystopian landscape where enemies to lovers has never felt more impossible. Step into a beloved and breathtaking world that demands an answer to a desperate question. Who are we when no one is watching?
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is you've done your research in terms of the prequels and stuff like that. I was quite surprised because, this book has, I think there's, 10 books beforehand or whatever. So I didn't know you would know that. Pause this video right now. Go and read Watch Me. Bye.
Tahereh Mafi. And when you've read it, you can join us for the discussion.
Or we can join us anyway, because we're going to tell you all about it. My name's Elijah.
And I'm Joseph, and welcome to the Aisha Library.
So, what did you think of the book?
I thought parts of it dragged.
Parts of it dragged?
I think there's a huge hyper focus on this slow burn romance thing that people love to talk about these days, as opposed to, they call it insta love or insta attraction. I think there's a huge hyper focus on that. Oh, we want a slow burn.
Oh, well, I completely disagree with you, because first of all, they had instant attraction in the cell, but just before he killed her.
Insta attraction and insta love, but
okay.
Yeah, carry on.
Secondly, the first whole half of the book was one big action scene. So you can't actually say it was a slow burn. You can say a slow burn romance, but the first half or quarter of the book was him behind enemy lines.
No, but I said slow burn romance. I didn't, when I say slow burn, I'm talking about the romance.
Okay, cool. I know what you came for.
It's a romance book.
Is it? Was it a romance book or was it fantasy?
Sweet Talk Me.
Was it fantasy?
Listen, Sweet Talk
Me. It wasn't
even
romantasy. All right, let's get into it. I've got more, so I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Rosa and her sister live in a Big Brother-esque society, a communist republic called the Re-establishment. Not the cleverest or catchiest name. We immediately learn that they are dirt poor, barely surviving on their government-issued food and water rations. Question. Where are their parents, you might ask? Well, her father's a traitor. He either fled or was exiled for his treachery, and her mother blew her own brains out on the kitchen floor. She couldn't live with the embarrassment that the father had bestowed on the family. And I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. But I'd say, first of all, if you're going to unalive yourself, then at least be considerate. In the house, Now I've got to come home from work and clean up the house too. If you're going to take the coward's way out, being the coward that you are you more likely to be a convenient case, or are you going to try and cause as much destruction as possible? Me personally, I ain't going alone. Joseph, you better run. I'm taking as many people as I can as possible. But jokes aside, I always appreciate some character building sub-stories, like what we saw with Rosa's parents. It's nothing super creative, but it's a tap-in. And I don't actually believe it's played out yet. Do you disagree? With the character sub-stories, mother was a whore, mother blew her brains out, father's a traitor. Do you think it's played out?
I mean, everything's played out, to be honest.
So
and that's as honest as I can be. Literally everything's played out.
So do you condemn or commend?
I think I commend in this instance. I think I commend it, to be fair, because it's just I haven't seen it in a while.
Well, we saw it in what book was that?
Olivia Winter.
No, we saw it with we saw that, but we saw it with a book where Quicksilver, where the girl's mother was a whore and she got her throat got slit. And we've seen it countless times, sub-stories, countless times. But I love them. I think it's necessary. You want to feel something, and it makes the character 3D, not just anybody. As I said, because I remember Ceres because her mother was a whore.
Yeah, no, real talk.
It's not something to be remembered for, but
It's not
it
something you
doesn't.
want to be remembered
It
for,
does.
for sure.
Oh, you're that daughter. You're the daughter of the whore. um, We're also introduced to our male protagonist, James. We don't know anything about him apart from the fact that he has been captured and he is sitting in a cell in the re-establishment. We are kind of drip fed some information because this book is in POV, so we get to know what's going on in James's head. When our two characters meet, Rosa is brought in to kill James. James says to himself, I'm a big fish, a valuable target. Even an idiot knows that I should be tortured for intel or used as a bartering tool, but instead they've sent this pretty little elf girl that's holding a knife to my throat. She smells like pine trees and silk. She's on tiptoes to reach my neck. It feels like I'm being assaulted by a flower. Which I found mildly amusing. I've never heard that term before.
Yeah.
I liked how the author got us to like James immediately with the light humour. Even me, a convicted sociopath, was thinking, well, how's he going to get out of this one? But he didn't. His throat was slit immediately. And that is how you start a book. A bit of character building, some jokes, and a death of the main character. This is what we're talking about. Surely, not even you can criticise the opening. Right, Joseph?
No, I wouldn't criticize the opening.
Now that I've teed it up in that way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, do you know what I mean? I couldn't be like, shit. It's shit. It's shit.
So yeah, no, I was impressed with the opening, especially for a fantasy book. We had a good amount of action, which is something that fantasy books typically start to lean towards romancy, less
Yeah.
action and stuff like that. Romantasy, as you say, well, as it's called or whatever. But yeah, go on.
The first words of this book's review were, fans of Powerless and Akatar will love this. Oh no.
You're supposed to be geared up when you hear that.
Whenever a book review says that, it means we're about to read the same book. Elijah, why do you insist on doing this to me? It's like you hate me or something. No, Joseph, I don't hate you. In a time where conflict and turmoil are ever present, James Anderson and Rosabelle Wolfe will find a way to be together in a world that has ordained for their destinies to be apart. It's not that I'm not a fan of enemies to lovers. I like the trope just fine. In fact, my issue is always a portrait of itself. It's always the same two characters in different outfits, to the point where it's not even enemies to lovers anymore. It's just enemies who are waiting to find out that they're lovers. I don't remember the last time I was actually surprised or enjoyed the suspense of an enemies to lovers story.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Has there been a single enemies to lovers good story that we thought, yeah, that's good. Funny story?
Oh God.
Yeah,
Liver
not that
and
good.
Lock.
Oh, well, that was just because you like the bonus scene. Lockler's bonus scene
My favourite scene.
of the whole book. I'm loving the book so far. It's like some form of convoluted mind game. James, our good guy, has fallen victim to the old catch and release trick. He thinks that he's broken into the re-establishment, retrieved valuable intel, and has managed to escape capture. This is not the case. The re-establishment has played him for a fool. They have altered his mind without his knowledge, and then let him escape. We don't know what their plan is, but what we do know is that it involves Rosabelle getting close to James. So James seems like this invulnerable bad boy character, a one-man army, a loose cannon who is able to go through waves and waves of enemy personnel, single-handedly, but he seems to have all the brawn, but none of the brain. And here's the bit that really bothers me. It's the excessive jokiness. Every second line there's a wisecrack or some form of humour. It screams to me, amateur writer. Surprisingly, this isn't the author's first rodeo. I think there's about 15 books in this series alone. So do you think it was okay, or do you think the author overdid it? And did the overly clowny, jokey characters... Sorry, do overly clowny characters always scream amateur writing to you, in your opinion?
Not always, but it did here.
But it was all the characters.
Yeah,
all
it
of them,
was,
except
it was,
obviously
it
Roosevelt, who
was.
was a deadpan. But everybody else was, ha 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 ha, you're joking
Yeah.
over. Every line was wisecrack. It was like, why are you doing this? It's corny, is what the Americans call it. It's not
Yeah.
even, it wasn't even funny. It was just,
Yeah, it was sad after a point.
yeah. It was just weird. So, yeah. You can go.
Where have I seen this before? Our female main character is Rosabelle Wolfe. an emotionally closed off, stoic, take no shit from anybody sort of girl. And it's almost as if this is the only archetype of female main character that will play well in this sort of audience. As much as I understand giving the people what they want, and I do more than understand, I sympathise. Let's not forget, one of the best books we read, The Favourites, was exactly the same. It would be nice to see somebody break out of the mould, especially in this trope, and give us something different. So I wasn't really, like, the setup, it just seemed like I was reading the same book. Like, the intro, the setup, just the profile of the two characters, just seemed like we're reading the same book again and again and again.
Okay,
You know,
I would
the
accept...
brooding guy, it's the
Yeah.
girl that doesn't take any shit from anybody. That's literally Lever and Love.
Okay, well, what I will say is that maybe it fits in this story better than the others because this is communism. Everybody's upset.
Yeah.
You know, they were really trying to paint out the bad side of communism, whatever, or communism's bad. That's what they're trying to do because we live in a capitalistic society. Juice boxes, gummy bears, popcorns, and snack time. It's like this group of military men are a bunch of children, and I'm starting to think that the author might be a secret ambassador for junk food too. Rosabelle stealing James's empty gummy bear packet so her sister can lick the sugar off was one thing, but in nearly every scene, James and his crew are either eating or drinking some kind of junk. And of course, we're constantly reminded about their protein shakes and bars in case we forget that they're also into healthy junk too. Listen to me. I just thought this was a weird addition to the story. I would like to sit the author down and ask them why. There were humorous moments in this book that I did appreciate, like for example when James said, "He's my brother, he loves me." He said it once, by omission, which I thought was funny and creative. We don't usually use the term by omission for anything positive. James said that once he and his brother were in a heated argument and his brother's girlfriend at the time broke them up and said, "Come on guys, stop arguing. You know your brother loves you. And isn't saying these things to hurt you." I think the brother's name was Mike. But because Mike stayed silent and did not correct his girlfriend about the "your brother loves you" bit, James took that as a win. And I mean, we're clutching at straws now. We're clutching at straws. And I thought that was funny. But my question to you, Joseph, is should brothers be saying "I love you" to each other?
Not necessarily. I mean, not if you mean literally saying "I love you" to each other. If you mean expressing love in another form
literally
of,
saying.
then I don't think so.
You don't think they should?
I don't think it's necessary.
But do you think it's okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think it's beneficial?
Can be.
Could you see yourself doing it?
No. Not gay.
Okay, all right. Moving on swiftly.
Yeah, we're
swiftly. What about fathers saying it to sons? Do you think that's more?
Depends how old they are.
Really?
If they're older
Can't say "I love you, son."
If you're older than 9,
They nip that shit in the bud.
yeah, that's over. That's over. That's
Fair
over
enough.
with.
Fair enough.
Something we've always done on this channel is we go into series cold. Fans of this series and this author will be familiar with certain characters before, particularly James Anderson. I think it's a good litmus test of an author's writing ability to just jump into the show at season 3 and see how well they can grab us. But honestly, it's a lot of extra work, especially when a lot of the source of this book is the characters and their relationships with each other. There are a lot of literary devices that I recognise though. We've got the dual POV narration, which always plays well with fans of romance. We've got the enemies to lovers trope, which honestly has been flogged to death in my opinion, but I'm a hypocrite because my book is enemies to lovers.
I love a little flocking to death.
Yeah, who doesn't? I mean, not all the way. We also have the slow burn romance, which I'm not a huge fan of because it drags, and this book dragged as well. But I have to admit, romance readers love that shit. I'm marking it down for the slow burn romance because I just feel like.
But one thing you have to mark it up for is there was actually a plot. There was some sort of sinister thing behind the scenes with the re-establishment capturing James, doing something and releasing him. It was like some big mind game going on, and that was an extra layer to the story.
Two.
I wrote in caps, "I'm thoroughly enjoying this book!" Exclamation mark. It turns out that the nurse that is in the facility that is repatriating Rosa is an agent for the re-establishment. So Rosa has to pretend to defect to the civilized world. She was told in her briefing that an agent will make contact within the first 48 hours of her arrival, which brings us to phase 3 of the plan. So Rosa's given a vial filled with black liquid, and you know, black's the worst colour. One thing I like that is that Rosa is being kept in the dark too as to what the actual plan is. So there's a plot that's keeping us engaged, which is surprising because that's something we don't typically see in romantasy books. The romance parts are there too. In the second half, the book transformed from an action book into a slow burn romance. James and Rosa have to spend lots of time together, talking, and it's not at all forced. I'm happy with the way the author has done this. My only concern is whether the story is going to get boring or not. So, do you co-sign the book starting out guns blazing and then literally turning into a slow burn?
As someone that's not a fan of the slow burn anyway, I'm never going to say yes, there was a slow burn.
So you think slow burns should be punished by death?
No, not banished. I just
banned and punished by death.
I just don't think it should be as held in the esteem that it seems to be these days. And
so you want to get to third base immediately?
Well, I didn't say that, but yeah.
But if the book's short, you can't really knock them for a slow burn, can you? If the book's
well, maybe
short.
you could knock them even more because it's a short book. You're trying to stretch it out when it's a short book.
There's just no pleasing you, is there?
Absolutely not.
Fair enough. All right, are you done?
Edged. No, I'm not done. There was a lot of banter in this book. In fact, a lot of the characters, James in particular, come off as unserious and juvenile. That's something I always appreciate in a story, but only when it's done well and if it's funny. One other thing about humor in literature is that I think it should be used sparingly. I used to have this problem a lot. People would always tell me my writing comes off as too jokey, but in my case, it was a bit of a self-portrait because that's just who I am.
Clown.
There were points in this book where I felt like I was reading a sitcom script. So, yeah, it was, like you said, it was constant and it was relentless and it was the author, shoving her jokes down our throats.
One word of advice.
What's to choke on them?
One word of advice. Have one jokey character if necessary.
Han Solo. Ron Weasley.
One clown, yeah.
Solid one.
Just have one. Not every single character being the same thing. I mean,
and
surely the editor must have...
They're all that maverick personality that you can only have one of.
Yeah, exactly.
All of it.
Everybody's that. Yeah,
everybody's that.
While popping juice boxes and candy canes in their mouth.
So everyone's doing it. Like no one it loses its magic.
Yeah. I read a review on Goodreads that said that there's no substance to the romance. Apparently, James is only infatuated with Rosabelle. It's not real love, she wrote in caps.
She's tweaking.
Usually, I'd agree with a review like that. But in this scenario, I was impressed with the author's writing and the groundwork that she's laid for James and Rosabelle to finally get together. It doesn't even happen in this book, as we know. But there's some heavy-hitting scenes, moments of character building. The dining hall scene in chapter 29, James was explaining to Rosa that he can sometimes tell what she's thinking, not because he's in her head, but because he pays attention to her. Rosa, with the biggest Uno reverse, starts cross-examining James back. I pay attention to you, she fires back. You pretend to be reckless when you're not. You pretend to be weak when you're not. You pretend to be stupid when you're not. You pretend to be bored when you're actually paying attention. You smile when you're angry, especially when you're angry. You're a liar. Deep down, you don't think that life is funny. You're simmering with rage. You live your life as if nothing can hurt you, when really you're covered in scars. Jesus. What do you do when somebody dismantles you with words?
Sounds cooking.
What I usually do is log off the internet. Maybe even delete the comments in the chat.
Close your laptop.
James stood there gawking like a fool. This was one of a good few examples of creative writing in this book. There was another example where the author was trying to show us how oppressive the re-establishment was. The book reads, Rosabelle had no choice but to suppress her emotions, just like she usually does. It's like she's a little girl inside a fortress, inside a fortress, inside a fortress.
Jesus.
And the fortress walls are so thick that nobody can hear her screaming. So, I thought the book it had some aspects of creative writing and good ideas and stuff like that. So I completely disagree with you when you say that you hated the book.
I didn't say I hated it.
You want to say it.
No, I don't.
Don't you? Is that you finished?
Oh, I think I have one more.
Do you? Oh, well, I started.
The cliffhanger. As someone who loves being edged, you can tell that I love a good cliffhanger. Whets the appetite, leaves you wanting more. It's the perfect way to end a novel, in my opinion, especially the first one. I thought the end of Watch Me left too many questions, though, with the one on my mind being, does Rosa have powers? And is that why she can't connect to the Nexus? I feel like just showing her powers at the end in the last few lines would have been a perfect way to end on a cliffhanger.
Or
Right.
like the Magneto moves the
Do you
chess
know-
piece
Thank
and
you,
it just...
thank you. Listen, yeah, exactly.
Just a little, doesn't it? I don't even know if it moves.
Yeah, just a little,
tweaks
little
a
whisper,
little bit.
little whisper, and then credits straight away.
Yeah.
That's how it's done, mate.
But her still, I think it was still going a good ending. Her going to Supermax prison. It was like, how's she gonna get out of this one?
I
sort of thing.
suppose prison
Remember,
break sort of thing.
it started with James in prison. It ended with Rosa in prison.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Poetic.
Oh,
5 stars. All right, let me just get through this, and then we're gonna finish because we can't go anymore. There was another scene that I thought was so good as well. It was where Rosa was being offered chicken. She's never had chicken before. Just seeing the chicken triggered her, and she began reliving an experience, a conversation, a memory, where she found her baby sister's diary. They were so poor and hungry that they used to dream about foods that they would eat one day. Her little sister, who was no older than 5, wrote in her diary, "One day I want to be able to eat chicken. One day I'm going to be able to eat all the bread that I can." So I think the author did a good job with the writing of this book, and I even enjoyed the ending section of the book where Rosa was being transferred to Supermax prison. It was creative, it was different, and that's not the way normal romance books are supposed to end. And in all seriousness, that was half a book, and it's clearly not the ending. It feels like I've been left high and dry. I need the sequel. So do you share any of the feelings or thoughts that I've shared, Joseph? Do you think do you need the sequel too?
no, I don't need the sequel. I don't need the sequel. Listen, I've had Fourth Wing. I've seen that sequel. I don't need the sequel, mate. If it came out, I would read it, and I would feel slightly better about reading it than I do about some other stuff.
I was gonna say, surely this has to be one of the better fantasy books. Surely.
Sure.
For that, so we agree. 5 stars.
I just don't think any of the fantasy books we've read have been good. I'm gonna be real. Like, if we're being
None.
mean-
none.
What's the best one?
This or Quicksilver?
Jesus.
Well,
This.
yeah.
This.
Yeah.
Pick this.
Yeah. And on that note, we agree. A book that's brought us together, brother to brother. So yes. I don't have a quote. I mean, I do have a quote. Let me just say it. And then. So wait, would you recommend the book? Yes, me too. Quote of the day. When something seems difficult, dare to do it anyway. When life seems to beat you down, dare to fight back. When there seems to be no hope, dare to find some. I know what you're going to say.
It's shit too long. But
That, first of all, it can't be shit. It literally cannot be shit. It can be too long, but I hear that all the time.
did I start? Anyway,
I think the camera's about to go anyway.
oh, is it?
Well, you see the flash in red.
That even means it's gonna go boom.
So we, so we agree with everything for once. And on that note,
I was right.
till next time.